You will arrive along the old road. It winds with a troubling, serpent-like suggestion through the corrupted countryside, leading only, I fear, to ever more tenebrous places. There is a sickness in the ancient, pitted cobbles of the old road, and on its writhing path, you will face viciousness, violence, and perhaps other damnably transcendent terrors. So steel yourself, and remember there can be no bravery without madness.
I'm not gonna lie, this game is painful, and at times, honestly, I dreaded the thought of playing it. That's not the best gambit to convince you to go have a look at it, is it? But it's nonetheless true. I warn you, you've got to have thick skin to take the hits this bad boy likes to deal out. But its difficulty is only part of what made this one of the best games I've played for quite some time. It has so much depth and replayability that it quickly drew me in. And as an added bonus, I got it cheap, dirt cheap. Now before I start waffling on about the Darkest Dungeon, I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent, but it is relevant, so stay with me. For many years, games we should have been looking forward to have turned out to be watered down, unfinished messes. I put this partly down to changes in society. There is a current culture which is prevalent but has been manifesting for decades, and that's the culture of giving babies what they want and making them into winners, despite doing nothing to earn it. This has set a terrible precedent where children grow up getting whatever they want by crying, and many of them carry this into adulthood because it is unchecked. What the hell has this got to do with games? Well, knowing this culture exists and how spoiled in general the Western world is, this demographic not only buys games but affects how they are made. In my opinion, big developers and publishers have progressively made their games easier, reskinning the same thing over and over, having regen health, X-ray vision, and snap-on aiming as standard mechanics, to fundamentally cater for these people, as these functions give huge advantages to the player. Developers and publishers benefit from these people because they know if these people keep feeling like winners, they will throw money at a game until they're the blingiest baby in the world. Darkest Dungeon is one of the vanguard games that puts its middle finger up to catering for babies, and you will quickly find that out the hard way, but with perseverance, skill and a sprinkle of luck, you just might make it, me old son. This game consistently puts you in situations where you're snookered, there's no easy way out, and you're forced to make difficult decisions and sacrifices all the time. And that's what got me immersed, because I quickly felt the gravity of the situation I naively rolled up to, and now I was going to have to deal with the repercussions of my flippant attitude towards it. I like that, because with many games, the stakes are superficial, and the loot just rains down for completing any old tedious task. Few games give fair consequences, challenge and reward. Now that being said, I did stop counting the number of attempts it took me to do my first dungeon. Attempt after attempt, I barely survived the very first fight. Each scrap left me beaten and humiliated, and all I had to take home was a pitiful swag bag. It wasn't even enough to get a pint for my unhinged friends.
Whoever has the gold makes the rules.
It did seem like this situation was never going to end. This perpetual cycle was made worse because every time I didn't complete a quest, my party were given negative effects, as failure dented their morale. So I started to ask myself, what was I actually doing wrong? It took me some time to figure it out, but I finally saw the way. Don't care about your people. Sounds odd, but Devious Dungeon knows you're naturally going to. This is why it's so expensive for their upkeep. You'll quickly find that it's really hard to sustain your team to begin with, and I was being stupid trying to resist the inevitable. As soon as I accepted that these people were disposable, I treated them with disregard, and the riches and the power started rolling my way. This, my friends, is a battle of nutrition. Smash and grab as much as you can. Push these people as far as they can go to get that little bit more. It doesn't matter if it means that they have to die. There's a whole line of these nutters waiting to get in those dungeons. I kept doing this until I saved up enough resources to upgrade things, then the snowball started rolling. As I upgraded, I started pushing further and further into the dungeons until one day, I did it! I finally beat one. And I can tell you, my friend, it was a beautiful feeling. Not the sort of feeling you get from winning something shiny from a pack after throwing a week's wages at it. No, this was a feeling you only get from grafting for something. Like getting that really heavy box up in the loft. Achieving that feeling was well worth losing many meat bags for. After the toll had been paid, it was then great to start building a bunch of toe rags into some sort of effective fighting force. It's really good game design. Something else I found that helped with the immersion is that everyone looks like they belong in this world. You know, they're battered or completely off their head.
Why so serious?
This helps make the world more convincing, and because all the characters are believable, I cared about potentially sending my poor bastards off to their deaths. After all, now I had a team worthy of keeping. Some of which who had been with me for quite some time. We had been through some really close battles, and we had lost people along the way. I no longer saw this lot as sacrifices for the greater good. What I'm saying is that characters are important. So many games are ruined because the characters don't act like they live in the world that they live in. Innocent people could be getting killed by the truckload, but the characters we interact with are light-hearted, edgy douchebags in party mode. No sir, you won't find any happy clappy kids here. Everyone knows that death is around the corner, and the only chance of survival is to fight against the overwhelming odds in the darkest dungeons. How you're going to do that is by learning good management skills. You've got to crunch numbers, positive quirks, negative quirks, combat skills, base stats, resistances, preferred positions to attack. Then you have to pick a team that works together, pick the right level, and take the appropriate provisions. Over time, you'll learn how to build a team to fight effectively, using buffs, debuffs, healing, status effects, and combinations to deal high damage, as well as staying alive. As I've briefly covered, there's a lot going on, and if you're one of those people who likes builds and going against the odds, as well as turn-based combat, then this is definitely something that should be on your radar. This game is a brilliant example that justifies why I go looking through the bargain bins.